Hello, and welcome to the movie universe. I'm your host, Movie Fan. Here with my good friend, the one, the only, and the very beautiful Bonnie from Joy Unicycle.
Hey guys.
Well, yep. We're here today to do my very first mid-week live stream. I've never done that before. And today we're going to be doing something a little different. It's unorthodox, but I feel that it needs to be called out in one form or another. Today, as you may read by the title, I'm going to be calling out a few things that the Mythbusters did that were, well, in the words of, I don't know, let's just say a certain doctor in mind. Wrong, 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 wrong. No, said there. Anyway.
That never gets old.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I might use that from now on, Bonnie. I'm not kidding, because I did use that for a Power Rangers video recently, calling out how Screen Rant made something up. Anyway, that's
shout out Scrubs.
Yep.
Thank you for these wonderful memes.
Yep, that's the only one that's worth watching too, because the show stinks. I'm not kidding. Anyway, that's just me though. Well, anyway, the Mythbusters. I'm sure everybody knows that their whole thing was they would take urban legends and stuff like that, or things that came up on the internet, and see if they could test to see if it was real or fake or whatever. Bonnie, I know you've seen a couple.
Yep, I saw the Titanic one. However, I do have one note about the way they did it.
Go ahead.
But I don't know. Does this count for the live stream?
I don't see why not.
So basically, what they did was to test out whether or not two people could fit on that door, which technically they could, but and they tried all sorts of different ways to make sure that it worked. And ultimately, what they did was they tied a life vest under the door and then got two people on top of it. Okay, that's great, but I don't think in that moment either. Because when you're hit with the Atlantic Ocean at night, past midnight, and you're not too far away from icebergs, I don't think that's what you're going to be thinking about doing. All you're going to be thinking about doing is getting out of the water, whatever ways you can.
It's true.
So, well, the Mythbusters managed to bust that two people could fit on that door. They pretty much. Well, I don't think they mentioned about the fact that it was going to be freezing cold in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
At that time, and it knocks. It knocks away a lot of thinking, and all that goes into it is survival.
Yep. It's
so
true.
That's the only thing I have for that. And the other one that I did see that I have I have nothing to counter it is the Jaws episode. That one they did have trouble with because people did tell them in different ways. The first time they did it, people were able to bust their myth busting, and then they tried it a second time, and then pretty much said, even with the technology that we have and the way we've done it, that still doesn't work. A gunshot is not going to make a tank explode.
Nope.
The most it'll do is send it hurtling all the way back into uncomfortably down the shark's throat. But that's about it.
That's true.
Otherwise, true. It was cool to see them bust a lot of myths, and well, pretty much what they did with Jaws collaborated greatly on what Peter Benchley tried to tell Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. A shark's not going to keep a diver's tank in its mouth like that, and a gun's not going to set it off.
He was right.
But Steven Spielberg basically said one thing that was correct. If I have the audience in my hand for a good part of the hour, then then I'll have them within the last 10 minutes also.
Yeah,
And he was right about that, but Peter Benchley was also right.
he was. He was indeed. Oh, we got Antony here.
Ah,
Good to see you. It's been a long time, bro. Oh, he's asking to join. What do you think, Bonnie?
yeah,
Why not?
the more the merrier.
All right. I'm afraid this is going to have to be the last invite, though, I'm afraid, guys. So, Antony, you're coming in. Just give me 1 sec. And for anybody who may comment soon, if anybody's got any ideas of any myths or anything or things that need to be challenged, I'm all ears. But please, by all means, let's try and stay on topic here, which is about like Mythbusters and maybe some small screw ups. Because I'll admit, I don't intend to keep this going on for too long tonight.
Greetings.
Hey, Antony.
Friends.
Good
How
to see
you guys
you.
doing?
Oh,
Great,
doing
you?
good. Doing
I've been
good.
fine, really. Yeah. Yeah, I've been pumping out some content and
I
getting more
noticed.
excited every day. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yep.
Recently, I've recently worked on a piece of fan art for DeviantArt. So
Awesome.
I could show you guys. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Just a second, because I've already
No problem.
uploaded the pic, and still updating it though. All right, just a second. So,
Oh,
take
nice.
a good look at that.
Nice.
This is George of the Jungle,
Obviously.
Basuli, Tarzan, and Mowgli.
Nice.
Kind of based off George of the Jungle's design on the 1960s, 1970s cartoon. Basuli, I'm sure you guys watched Disney's Legend of Tarzan, the TV show.
I did.
Yeah, that was from 2001. So, and then obviously Disney's Tarzan, and Mowgli from the Russian animated film version of Jungle Book, which is known as The Adventures of Mowgli. So I've basically made this fan art because in my AU headcanon, I made all of them brothers.
Oh, nice.
Like the 4 sons of Chief Kiwazi. So in my AU headcanon, George is the eldest.
Makes sense.
Basuli is the second. Tarzan is the third. And then Mowgli is, of course, the youngest. And they're basically separated from like 1 or 2. They're basically like 1 or 2 years apart.
Sure.
In terms of overall age. So let's just say that let's just say that Legend of Tarzan started back in 2001, right? So that means that these guys would be in their 30s. All right? Like with George being like, I would say 31 back in 2001, and both Basuli and 31, and then Basuli and Tarzan being George being 32, Basuli and Tarzan being 30, although probably Basuli would be a bit older than Tarzan by a few months, and then Mowgli being 30. Yeah.
Nice.
That's just their ages in 2001. Let's just say that their ages are like in 2024. That would make George approximately let me try to think about that. Like they would all be in their 50s. So I would love to draw them in their 50s, and based on how they are, based on how they look, I would say that they would still look really good.
They would.
That's awesome.
Damn straight.
Definitely. All right.
So,
Oh.
going to the topic at hand, Mythbusters.
Yeah.
I'll admit that this show is quite fun.
It had its good points.
Yeah, although I do understand that it can be quite ridiculous. It can be kind of sensationalist. I know what its intention is. I know what its purpose is. It's trying to make stuff like experimentations a lot more fun, complete with that edge and bite.
Yep.
I mean, there are some shows that are similar to this ilk, like Fight Science and Fight Quest.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
I enjoy martial arts. I'm not the strictest martial arts practitioner, but I love my fair share of martial arts shows. I love my fair share of martial arts anime. And another AU headcanon I have is the 14 anime martial arts teams.
Yeah.
So, in which like various anime characters from Inuyasha to Cardcaptor Sakura practice various martial arts, and they're like divided into 7 characters in 14 teams.
Impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Like, for example, you got Sashomaru, who does mixed martial arts mixed with, like, let's say, luta libre, and Shuran, who does professional wrestling, Inuyasha, who does ancient Greek wrestling combined with various other wrestling styles, and Pankration, Hakaku, who does Muay Boran, which is the predecessor of Muay Thai, but it includes headbutts and takedowns.
Right.
And then Ginta does Lethway. Ayame does extreme gladiator kickboxing with a background in Muay Thai. And Shunran does Sanda or Sansho, Chinese kickboxing with a background in Japanese and American kickboxing.
Awesome. All right.
And Bagwajan.
Yeah. Okay, let's that's awesome, but we got to get back on topic, I hate to say.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll save that for another day though. But anyway, with the Mythbusters, there were quite a few times that, there were some moments where people questioned some of the things they did. In other words, did they do it right or did they do it wrong?
Exactly.
I think, let's see, I'm going to get some stuff geared up here. Let's see.
Right on.
One thing I'm pretty sure a lot of people might be familiar with is the 2-part ninja episode, because they did it twice. It was, twice for my friends over in Europe. Sorry about that. Anyway,
Right.
Yeah, because the first time it was the old catching the arrow. We all see that in the movies, and I think most of us love it. But they tested it twice to see if it can be done. And, well, the first time they tried it like so.
Arrow catching rig, test number 1.
It went like this.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Oh!
It's a robot glove, by the way.
The fist closed too late. Adam goes through the numbers.
Off by 200 milliseconds.
Both the arrow and hand were moving at accurate real-life speeds. The arrow clocked 170 miles an hour, and the hand grab was just 2 milliseconds slower than Ninja Dale. Adam adjusts the timers to his precise calculations.
Yeah.
The arrow to release 200 milliseconds after the hand starts to activate. So that's 1.
This is the first attempt, by the way,
milliseconds.
folks.
That ought to do it. 3, 2, 1. I wonder what
A little
happened.
quicker.
Too fast for my eyes.
I know.
Finally, they achieve a perfectly coordinated shot. But even though the rig was working at the correct human and arrow speed, the ever-elusive projectile slips through the hand's grasp.
That tells me that at human speed, it's not fast enough to grab the arrow.
I think that's exactly what this says. I think you're absolutely right.
I think our only choice at this point is to make the hand go faster.
To ramp it up.
That's all there is left.
All right, I'll get to rigging.
Hi, ikimashou. That's let's go in Japanese.
We have a technique for speeding up the hand, so this will move so quickly you won't even be able to see it move.
Very ninja. The trick is to spring load the actuators so they hit the quick release, superhuman hard and fast.
3, 2, 1.
Got it.
3.
Okay, I think that'd be a good
Yeah.
place to stop. So, yeah, that was cool.
Quick question first. Why couldn't one of them just do it themselves?
Well, actually, they did. You see, the thing was, what they did was they got an arrow and they put a tennis ball on it, obviously so no one would get stuck with it. And they did catch it. However, obviously the tennis ball was weighing down the arrow, so it was slowing it down.
Well,
They did do that. But
there is such a thing as proof gloves.
that's true, too. And technically all they did here was they got a bike chain, would you believe it, and made the fingers, and they just used work gloves. But anyway, that was the first attempt. But as you may have noticed, the hand was a little too close to that bow that was rigged there. I mean, it couldn't have been no more than about 5, maybe 6 feet. And no archer would really shoot at that close a distance. They really wouldn't.
No, not really.
Because, and they got a lot of complaints about that. So they tried it again. And I'm going to get that one right now. But this time they took a different approach, and in this case they also took a different excuse, as I call it, because they claimed that this time around they were trying to prove that it was either practical or not practical, which was not what they were shooting for, big pun intended, for the first one. So anyway, here's what they tried the second time around.
Oh, jeepers.
Next up in our Ninja Bits, can you catch an arrow with your bare hands?
How are we going to do that?
Well, I figure we should take some of our arrows downstairs and you can shoot them at me and I'll just try and catch them.
I'm sorry. I had that backwards. This was their first attempt.
Let's fast
He's going to be shooting from over there into this garbage can. I'm going to be standing
so they
here and catch it
actually
on
did
high-speed
do that.
camera. See
Yeah,
how
they did.
fast
I'm sorry.
I can actually catch this
I'm a
arrow.
little backwards right now.
Jamie
I
marks
apologize.
out notches on the shaft. The further he pulls back, the faster the rod will travel.
Whoosh! All right, I'm ready if you are. You want to start snapping? All right.
Jake 1.
2, 1.
The arrow eludes Adam's grasp.
I don't have enough time to anticipate. It's like by the time you let go and I've moved.
Still at Mark 1. This time, Adam tries to move in sync with the arrow.
Hey!
Good job.
You know, I anticipated when you were just about to do it and I just started moving and we worked, it's like working together.
It's a beautiful thing. Next, Jamie ups the ante to Mark 3. But the arrow keeps sailing on by, as the guy's unified martial arts magic peaked already.
Got it!
Even though Adam's form was impressive, the speed was lacking. Their tennis ball projectile was traveling at 58 miles an hour, a third of the speed of a real arrow.
Pause that now. Well, now, as you may have, like I said before, the tennis ball did kind of slow it down. That's a big problem. But here's the key thing, though. He was at least 15 feet away from Jamie when he did that, which is a lot further than that bow was shooting through that glove. Very big difference. Like I said before, they're not going to shoot like within feet of a target. It doesn't work like that. No archer would do that. I mean, they would just, they're distance weapons. They're not meant to be shot a few feet away. I mean, you could, but it's not recommended because most likely they'll be able to duck it. So anyway, that's one attempt. That was the attempt. Oh, shoot. I did miss one. Oh, well. Oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Here it is. I think this is the second attempt when they try to a couple years later.
Have a showdown and the request.
Anthony wants me to stand exactly 26 feet away and fire past him, not directly at him.
Makes sense.
How's it going, dude? You hitting the dot?
I'm getting them bunched in pretty tight.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You ready for taking a crack at the real ninja?
let's do it.
All right.
This guy was actually taught by Bruce Lee,
Also
who they're bringing
requested
out
I
right
don't do
now.
a full draw.
ready for you, sir.
Oh my gosh.
To release my
Yeah,
arrows
he
at
was
only
actually one of
about
his
half
students.
to 3/4 strength.
Wow.
Dang.
So this is the
I
moment
know,
the
that's a
fans have been
bonus
waiting
itself.
for. Will Ninja Dom be vindicated or shamed? Can a real ninja really catch an arrow?
Last off.
That'd be a no. But he's a ninja. He's not about to give up without a fight.
Nope. He's not going to throw
Jamie's
in the
arrows
towel.
are traveling about 120 miles an hour. So at 26 feet, our ninja has about 1/8 of a second to react.
He missed again. This sure is a tough challenge, and fast looking like myth busted.
Wow, dropped it.
Yeah.
Until
Well.
finally, he got one.
We got it.
Bravo.
Nice catch.
And now he's got his eye
Ninja!
Yeah.
The ninja caught the arrow. Maybe the fans
He almost
were
looks
right.
like Chuck Norris's younger
Ninja
brother.
caught the
He could
arrow. Are
pass
you
as
feeling
Chuck Norris's
Next
younger
test
brother or
is
nephew.
accuracy.
Yep. Yeah,
So
okay, that was
in
it.
this case,
That.
so in this case, the Mythbusters had to admit that they themselves have been busted.
Slightly, because then they try to show is it really practical. However, technically they still screwed up, believe it or not, because, and it's not so much, in this case, they got the distance right. 26 feet, very good. That's very accurate. Because, again, that glove is way too close. But anyway, here's the other thing, and they completely, and I do mean completely overlooked this. And, Antoni, I think you might know this one. In fact, I'm sure you will due to Inuyasha and that. But in Japan, they use very different bows and very different arrows. That's the key thing. In fact, I actually have a Japanese bow of my own.
Oh, really?
I sure do. Hang on, my mic got caught here.
All right.
My Japanese Yumi.
Whoa.
It stands about my height, 6 feet. I'm 6'4", so this
Yeah,
is about
the ones-
6'3".
I think these are the ones used in Q, though.
They are. This one's not properly made with like bamboo and waxwood. It's more like a Western-made attempt, but it's pretty good. But anyway, it is
Wow.
made to specifications. And in fact, Bonnie, you might want to try one of these days, watch some Japanese movies about samurai and archery or Inuyasha.
Yeah.
So
Try,
and the
might
key thing
need
is,
try having a go. Try having
mean-
a go at any of the Akira Kurosawa films, most notably Turn of Blood and Run.
that's true. Oh, yes, very much so. But anyway, that's one key thing. And you noticed he was using a Western-style bow, not Eastern.
Oh, yeah.
Very big difference. Very big difference. And
Okay.
these guys have a lot more spring than most people realize. And here's the most important part. They were also using...
Don't forget about Maze and Kimberly's bows.
Right. Maze and Kimberly, right. But here's the thing. They were using Western arrows. This isn't a wooden arrow. This is a carbon arrow. But the point is, it's average length. But a Japanese arrow is a heck of a lot longer. I'm going to pair these two up here. Here's the tips.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
more surface to grab right there. That is seriously important. Yes, they were using wooden arrows. Someone actually complained to me about that once. I called that out. And they said, but they were using wooden arrows. Yeah, they were, but they weren't using the right stuff. That's the thing. There's a big difference between Western arrows, as you clearly see, because once again, I'm going to show everybody, once again, line these up. Okay, tips are on my finger here. And again, that's probably a good 2-3 inch difference right there. Seriously. So
they would have had time to at least catch the tail end of it.
they could. They could. Of
If they
course.
were quick enough, at least.
Yeah. Of course, in the end of that Mythbusters episode, the ninja did show a possibility that could explain the catching the arrow thing. What he did was he got his sword and he cut it out of the air, which I'll admit is more practical. I won't deny that. But and yeah, it could be because the ninjas, they've told all kinds of lies and so on just to make people fear them, and that is a proven fact. because, hey, fear can be a pretty helpful thing sometimes. Like,
Oh, totally.
heck, there's even
Mhm.
stories of them
Right.
walking on water, which I don't think is real, but it's believed they may have had like bamboo put in the moat, and they just ran on it, and in the darkness you couldn't tell. So the theory goes, but who knows? But anyway, that's one myth right there. Busted that the Mythbusters screwed up because obviously first time they were too close. And the second part, well, both parts actually, they used Western arrows with Western bows. Not the same thing. Big
Yeah,
difference.
that's gonna bust them.
Yeah. And there are people who have caught arrows like crazy. There was this one guy on YouTube, I can't remember his name, but he was catching arrows all kinds of ways. He was even on rollerblades catching them and shooting them back and all kinds of things. Seriously.
On rollerblades.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. But granted, he could be just one of those people who was done this for so long, he just has a knack for it. Some people do and some people don't. So, like some people have a knack to make fish and chips, and some don't. So that's the truth. Some people got it and some people don't. But that's one thing. Now, for another Mythbusters little screw up here, and this one I found to be pretty interesting. And this one, actually, they tried twice again. And I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of the Archimedes death ray?
Nope.
No.
I didn't think so. Well, okay. All right. I'll lay out. I got to lay out the story for you here. Legend goes that Archimedes, the famous scientist, philosopher of ancient Greece and all that, had Greece was going to be invaded by an enemy force. I can't remember who. I don't think it was the Persians, but I don't think it was the Persians. It was someone else. But the story goes that in the harbor, the ships had lined up and they're getting ready to attack, the land itself. And Archimedes told to get all their warriors to get their bronze shields and polish them up. And I mean, really polish them up. And then reflect them in a certain way, like a mirror. And when the sunbeams focused, they caught their ships on fire. So the story goes. Kind of like that old magnifying glass trick you used to burn ants. If you ever seen any of that. Yeah, like that.
Mm.
Or, Bonnie, try this one. You remember the scene where, like what Sid did in Toy Story to
Yes,
Woody's
I
head?
remember.
That's it. Like that. You just angle it properly. The idea is to angle the shields properly. And, there you go. It could set things on fire. Well, they tried it twice. I don't have the first attempt. The first attempt, what they did was they built a big wooden, platform with a whole bunch of little bronze plates on there. And they just kind of focused it on a homemade ship out in the harbor. And that didn't work. Now, there was a second attempt, and that one I'm going to show you. And this time they actually had a lot of help. But pay close attention to what they did and see if you pick up what they did wrong.
Test. And with the enemy now only 100 feet away, it's the last chance for Adam and his army to get their solar ray to work.
Oh my.
All right, soldiers, you're doing a fantastic job. I'd like everyone to take their mirrors off the target briefly and take a deep breath with me. Inhale.
Wrong
Exhale.
armor. That's wrong.
On the count of 3, I want you all to aim your beams at
I know.
that black sun.
Hey, he wore a
and keep
night
them as steady as
costume when he was
possible. Are
dealing
you
with
ready?
ninjas.
We are doing this for Syracuse in 3, 2, 1. Aim on that black sun. Hold it steady. Find your beam. Keep it centered on that sail. That's it. That's twice as bright as before.
Twice as bright. But to ignite the sail, the focal point will have to reach 410 degrees Fahrenheit. And with the black sun at 230 degrees, that's a long way off.
Look, he's taunting you. We're giving this every
Kind of.
possible effort. This is the last chance we have to catch this thing on fire.
Oh, he's throwing tennis balls.
Oh no, he's lobbing flaming tennis balls at us. Keep those mirrors on the sail. Ooh, he just took out one of your great cameramen. Are you going to stand for that? Keep those mirrors focused on the sail.
The tennis balls are flying, and the beams are focused on the sail. But while 280 degrees is impressive, it's still 130 off a sail ignition.
deeper.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, I figure that if this was a real war, you just lost, because I got a whole bunch of you guys, and you didn't get one of me.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. Why don't you gear down and come on in? I think we got to call this one.
Okay, I suggested that one. Yeah, that was cute. I'll admit that was cute.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. The problem with this is twice they did it wrong. The first time, like I said, they used like bronze plates, and obviously here they had a lot more help, and they had a lot of kids with mirrors, and points to them for trying to help, but they failed because I'm sure you noticed they did not focus their mirrors completely. They were wavy all over the place. There was a lot of dark spots and shadows, so clearly they didn't focus it very well. In order for that to work, they had to really beam it all together. That's one problem. And here's another problem, and this one's very important. Back in the 60s, a professor in Greek mythology and history actually tested this, and it worked. I couldn't find that footage, unfortunately. And here's another one. There's even footage of people who tried this in other parts of the world, I think mostly South America, and guess what? The boat caught on fire. And there was even a 12-year-old kid who recently did this with a little in a miniature scale, and it worked.
Oof.
Yeah, you can actually look it up on YouTube. I'm not kidding. But here's the thing, and I think I know what they did wrong, besides the fact that they couldn't focus the beams. They were doing it in the wrong place. That's the problem. Because when they did it twice, where were they? San Francisco, their home base. San Francisco, I'm sure, is hot, but Greece, that's tropical right there, practically.
Yeah.
So that would account for a lot of things. And South America, that's tropical. So that explains why out there it works. And Greece, and again, the professor, he did this in Greece. He did not do it in San Francisco. So there's a big difference. That's what they didn't take into account. Location, location, location. And that's where they did it wrong there. So, but nobody seems to have caught on to that for some reason. But yeah, a 12-year-old kid just made it work in just a few months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it points to him.
Yikes to the Mythbusters on that.
Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, I do have one more for the Mythbusters, but I also got a couple more for some different subjects. And one of them, which I completely forgot to tell you about, Bonnie, but we'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, one that I just wanted to call out for the worst way. Aha. Yeah, this one I think we're all familiar with. It's called explosive decompression. Yeah, I think we've all seen this. It's a popular thing in movies involving airplanes and guns. Man shoots inside a pressurized cabin. The airplane just ends up ripping apart and explosive decompression occurs. Ever seen U.S. Marshals?
No.
No? Okay.
I haven't seen that one.
Well, this comes up every now and again. You know, you see like a story about someone with a gun inside of a plane in a commercial airliner, 10,000 feet above. You know the story. And, well, he fires it, and it ends up just ripping a huge hole in the plane because of the inside compressed air versus the outside pressure, that sort of thing. So the theory goes.
By the way, wasn't that also used in Apocalypse Now?
I believe it was, actually. Yeah, I think it was.
In Black Hawk Down and other war movies.
Well, Black Hawk Down, Black Hawk Down, no. Helicopters can't go that high. They were shot down by missiles.
Okay, so most likely Apocalypse Now.
I could believe that one because I think that did happen in one scene, yeah. But it's a popular thing in the movies. Well, the Mythbusters tested it twice. I don't have the second test. What they did was they used models for this one. Yeah, and even now I can't explain it. But the first one, well, I don't have the whole story here, but I think you'll probably see what made people say, do it again. Give it a
Hello,
minute.
buddy.
Don't call me little buddy. Yeah, you know, we pressurized the DC-9. They said it wasn't possible, and with a little foam and a little ingenuity, I think we did an admirable job here. I'm really pleased with that.
Yeah, it held the pressure, and the gun rig worked just like clockwork.
The next experiment is to see if a bullet fired at a window will cause it to blow out.
I'm re-aiming and reloading the gun, so nobody walk in front of the plane from now on.
Starting the hopper.
The jet is pressurized. Jamie prepares to recreate the scenario seen in many movies, a gun firing inside a plane. Will it cause explosive decompression? Jamie pulls the remote trigger, the gun fires, but nothing happens.
Well, that didn't seem to do much at all, did it?
Dead center in the window, though.
Nicely aimed.
Yeah.
Our high-speed camera shows the bullet's impact with the plastic window, but no reaction from Buster.
The bullet went straight through. Clearly, Buster did not. No explosive decompression here.
I think
I think you get the
I
idea at
think
this point.
I think this might also been done Rambo.
Shouldn't that plane be flying for that?
Exactly. And that's
that's
what made
true.
everyone say, do it again. Except the second time. Yeah, but the second time they used the little models to try to simulate air pressure from the outside and inside, and the same result. But the problem is, yeah, and I agree, the plane should be flying, and I will have to give the Mythbusters a little slack on this one because no one's going to do that. That no one in their right mind would actually take up a plane, fly it, and try that. That's just going to end in disaster in the worst way.
Oh, that and also neither of them are probably licensed.
No, and either way, no pilot would ever do something like this for real. Would actually fly the plane that could do that, you know? So, and either way, it's just out of the question. So I can understand why they didn't do that. But at the same time, let's get real. That's probably the only way we could really test it. So, but anyway, that's the, okay. And I was wrong. That's the end of the chapter of the Mythbusters, but I do have a couple others, some of which you might be a little shocked about, and some you might actually find interesting. Let's see. I got 1, 2, and 3 here. Okay. No, yeah, 3. That's what it was. Okay, first one. Excuse me. Okay, that inspired me to come up with the next one, and that's about the COVID-19 mask test that came across back in 2020. I don't know if you saw this, Antonio. I don't know if anybody saw this, really. But I did mention this sometime back in passing, how I saw this one jerk on Twitter test masks and face shields and all that, and clearly he altered his test. Yeah. What he did was he got a big batch of liquid nitrogen on some kind of a big tray or something, or a table. Anyway. And, well, I'll show you this one first. This is not the same guy. At least I don't think it is. But watch what he does. I'm only going to show part of this because the rest of it he tries demonstrating by singing and so on, which is not important. Okay, you notice how he's got it set up right there with the liquid nitrogen. He's trying the breathing test, of course.
It's not going to end well.
Well, the idea is it shows if the masks work by, if the liquid nitrogen doesn't move. Okay, here's the face shield. See how that's going?
Boy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you see how that's going. Cough test, same thing. Okay, I'm going to pause this one for a minute here. And now, this other guy did the same thing, except one big difference. He had his camera mounted about at a 45-degree angle up here facing this direction, okay? Where you could see. And I don't know about you guys, but I have my suspicions about the face shield one. Because it seems to me that he put his head right over it to go, to me. Because you notice he's not showing the side view. That's a little strange, don't you think?
Totally.
I get what you mean.
And the problem,
And yeah, some of the people that I attended to while I was working as a hostess at Cracker Barrel had to only wear face shields because they truly, I mean, they had asthma and truly could not wear the masks. And I think that he was trying to, I guess, prove that they're more harmful than they are protective.
maybe, but at the same time, if the problem is for this guy, it seemed like maybe he got it, put his chin a little forward, and the problem is he shouldn't have done that. But the guy who I saw, I don't think this is the same guy. I really don't know for sure. He, from that angle, you could tell he literally, I mean, for the regular mask, he was facing right at it. But for the face shield, he deliberately went right over it. So, yeah. And when I call that, and when I said that guy was cheating and all that, everyone said I was full of it and a few other harsh words. And I'm like, are you blind? Can you not see what he just did? He literally hovered right over it to do that, just for that face shield. That's unacceptable. And again, here, we're getting a frontal view. We're not getting a side view. Here, let's try and watch that again, just for the heck of it. I mean, right here is the side view, and that's it. I mean, I'm sorry. It looks to me like he's right over it. And not facing it.
Oh, jeepers.
Yeah. I'm going to stop right there. Yeah, he's right over it at that time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's pretty senseless. And I
mean, the
I wouldn't
first
say
time,
not
maybe, but yeah, he was clearly hovering right over it when he coughed. So,
yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anybody who believed this, and I feel sorry for anybody who clearly didn't see the truth. I really do.
Or
anyway,
in other cases, didn't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, because there is such a thing as not wanting to see it.
Yeah, that's true. Heck, 2020 proves that. I mean, we saw the garbage going on for 4 years. It's pretty much coming to a close, I think, now, but still.
No, can't count on that either.
Well, here's what I also like to
madness
think
is
about
madness.
COVID.
True.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is also what I think about COVID. It also screwed up people's minds.
Yeah, I can picture that. It makes sense to me.
Especially the woke crowd. Oh my goodness.
Oh God, let's not go there. Let's not go there. I'll save that for another day, and that's when I feel like calling that out, but not today. Anyway, here's the next one, and this one's a historical one.
Okay.
I know not everybody's a history nut here, but I'm going to try it anyway. I don't think any of you have ever seen a TV series called Conquest.
Nope.
No.
Sounds.
Okay. Well, there's a part that comes out about a weapon which I don't think really truly existed, and involved an elite group of warriors. And here it comes.
Okay. Oh dear God.
All right, guys, come on over this way.
What age was it?
You're all masters of the axe now, yeah?
I'm sorry?
Was it like, so what time period was it meant to be?
Well, see, this would have been the Battle of Hastings, 1066.
1066. And England?
That make it the 11th century.
Okay. The 11th century in what part of Europe? England. Okay. So,
yep.
The armor is wrong, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's actually correct for the time.
Oh,
plate armor wouldn't come up until, I think, the late 1300s.
Oh.
It would be the 14th century. the 15, it would be about the, let's see, the 1500s is when you get the classic knight in shining armor, and the 1400s is definitely, really where it starts to come to its own.
Just seemed like something was wrong with what they were wearing.
Oh, no, believe it or not, during this time, it would have been chainmail or mail, as it's properly called. So, yeah, ironically, plate armor had a very short time frame, about a couple hundred years. Mail went back even farther.
Right.
All the way to ancient Rome. So, here we go.
So you can imagine how invulnerable those Vikings must have felt. Except that they weren't. At the Battle of Stamford Bridge, the Vikings were challenged by the Saxon army under King Harold of England. They were both very similar armies. They fought on foot, they slugged it out with axes, swords, shields, spears. The Saxon army had an elite force, the best infantry in Europe at the time, called the Saxon Housecarls. Now, they fought with axes, and I know you think you're pretty good at axes right now, but I'm sorry to tell you that the Housecarls used this, a Danish bearded axe. It's about 5'6", weighs about 3 times as much as the axes you're using, and you're going to have to get used to them. So there's a whole bunch of them behind me. Go get them. Another one? Try it.
The Saxon housecarls who carried this great axe were chosen for their size and strength. And as our team swiftly discover, it's not the easiest weapon to master.
Try swinging some left leg.
Those things can be freaky.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Whoa.
All right, guys. Now you should be flattered because
the rest of it's a little historical theory and all that. And here's the thing. The problem is there were great axes, as they were known, great axes that existed. However, that particular style, the Danish bearded axe of that size, I have researched and researched and researched for 10, 15 years now. I have found no proof that that model ever existed. There were bearded axes like that, but they were average size.
So pretty much like you can hold it in your hands, lift it off the ground, and and not that long.
Yeah, there's no 5-foot shaft. There were axes of that size, I'll admit that, but that particular model, I found no proof that that ever existed. I'm going to fast forward a little here to see if I got the rest of this. If they talk about this part, let's see. There is one part that they bring up, and this is where they really screw up here. Not so much that, but the fact of how the battle was fought.
the Normans had archers.
Oh, sorry. A key thing is this was during the invasion done by the Normans versus the Saxons. Therefore, they take over England, and hence that's how that happened. And believe it or not, they had such an immense force. It would not be duplicated until D-Day. Literally. And ironically, it was Normandy that we attacked to free it from Germany. How funny is that? They came from France to go to England, and then it literally went back the same route.
That is ironic. That's almost full circle.
Crazy,
I know,
even.
I know, right? And nobody really acknowledges that too much. The only difference is when we came back, it was the world, not just England. So, yeah. Well, technically, you had the French who may have escaped and joined in. The British, of course, us. So, but anyway, here's how they described what happened during the battle.
So the solution was a two-pronged attack. First, the archers softened up the main line, known as the shield wall. Then the cavalry had a go.
As the Norman cavalry charged up the hill, the Saxon housecarls came out from behind their shield wall and began to swing their axes. Must have been an awesome sight.
All right, I'll stop there. Okay, and that's really the gist of that one. Well, I hate to tell you this, but even though this guy was a historian, he was wrong. Because here's what really happened. The
Right.
Saxon shield wall held literally the whole day until finally, I think it was close to the evening, they just finally broke ranks and charged down the hill when they shouldn't have. And the housecarls, they did not come out from behind the shield wall. They were the king's elite guard. So they stayed with him the whole time. And of course, when they charged upward, once they got past the wall, well, they started swinging their axes, and I'm sure arrows did help. But the point is, they were not on the front lines getting ready to fight. Big difference. So, yeah. Somebody screwed that one up pretty badly. And pretty much all historians literally have said just that, too. Not about him, just about what really happened. And the final one I got today is an interesting one. This is the one I mentioned to you, Bonnie, about John Dillinger. Now, for this one, I'm going to play the whole story here this time because you don't want to miss a beat on this one. I mean, beforehand, we had a little historical perspective, so not that important, give or take a few details. But here's the most important one. This one, I got to go all the way through. So here we go. And pay close attention. This is a pretty interesting story. And it seems unbelievable, but this really happened.
Depression era, John Dillinger stands out as one of the most feared and notorious. But a little known part of the Dillinger story is that while escaping from an FBI shootout in Mercer, Wisconsin, he buried a suitcase filled with $200,000 in cold cash.
Dateline, Chicago, July 22nd, 1934. An Indiana farm boy named John Dillinger had earned himself the title of public enemy #1. It was not an honor that the folks back home would be proud of. The murders of 10 men had been directly attributed to his reckless guns, and that was just the official count. How many more deaths were on his conscience, no one knew. But now the manhunt was on in earnest. In the early 30s, he had launched his reign of terror after being released from state prison, having served 9 years of a 10 to 20-year sentence for armed robbery. He and his gang had started off on a bank robbing spree that had set the Midwest trembling in fear. The police and the FBI thought they had him and his mob cornered in this hunting lodge in Wisconsin.
The Little Bohemia Roadhouse is still in operation today.
Dillinger was here with Babyface Nelson and the gang. They were playing cards in here the night of the attack. Dillinger allegedly has the suitcase. This is $200,000 in there from $1 million in stolen securities. Now he allegedly buries this by a big oak tree and 2 pines 500 yards north of Little Bohemia. It could be something for the real treasure hunters to search out.
50 expert treasure hunters from 3 states came together at our invitation for the first organized search for Dillinger's loot.
For assembled here this morning at the Little Bohemia Resort, we're going to have to set up our teams in 2 lines with, what do we have, 50 people here today, I guess, or so, plus with detectors. We're going to sweep north.
The rest of the story will come in a little bit.
Group, and then we're going to come back.
But let's ask ourselves,
how
do they know that he buried between a large oak and 2 pines?
Based on what it looks like once we get up there.
In the words of Jack Sparrow, when they have no witnesses, where did the stories come from, I wonder?
In the back line, I'll fill the holes of the fellows in front, so...
On that weekend of April 20th to the 22nd, Dillinger and his gang came here. They came up here just to relax and pull the gang together. In fact, on that Saturday, which would be April 21st, Emil Winnetka Jr. was playing baseball with Babyface Nelson.
You know, it's a long, long time ago. It's 60 years ago. But I remember quitting because Babyface Nelson was throwing the ball too hard, and then going to my cousin's birthday party.
His mother sent him to a relative's birthday party because she smelled these were gangsters up here. But on the 3rd and final day, the FBI got a tip.
My uncle called the FBI in Chicago. I think a $15,000 reward, and so that was it. He called them, and then they came from Chicago and Minneapolis.
The FBI and the local constables were at Highway 51 and the entrance to Little Bohemia. Now we're about a quarter of a mile from the main road. The FBI did not know the territory. They waited in a V shape with Thompson submachine guns, and the locals had even pitchforks and shotguns as they waited for Dillinger to come out. However, 3 locals came out after the Sunday night chicken dinner, and as they drove out, the windows were rolled up, and the FBI shouted, "Halt," thinking it was Dillinger and Babyface driving out to 51. They couldn't hear. All of a sudden, the FBI opens up on this poor 3 people in the car. Dillinger, meanwhile, hears this.
Dogs were barking and everything, and so they went upstairs, took the money, and out the back window, and went down onto the beach, split up, and went north and south.
Where is the money? We simply don't know. It's probably in big bills. With the ground frost up here, it probably wouldn't have decayed that much. So there's a good chance it is up here.
Oh, heaven.
Meanwhile, the FBI does not know Dillinger has left.
This is
and
important.
They fire all night.
They shot at that house all night long.
Only on about 7:30, when we're getting good daylight here in the North Woods, do they realize that people are still hiding in the basement. And by this time, Dillinger's had a good 8-hour jump.
Okay, and that's the end of that chapter.
Definitely has brought up a few questions.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure that common sense will give us the answer to this one. But I'll ask the question anyway for everybody's sake here, just because I think somebody has to. Now, put yourself in his shoes. You know the FBI is out there. You know they're after you. And assuming you got the money, of course. And you hear gunshots because they're shooting the place up. Would you take the time to bury a suitcase? Or would you run like hell and don't look back and keep on running?
The latter.
Get the hell out of there.
Yeah, common sense. Run, run, run.
And like I said, like I said for the Mythbusters Titanic, survival instincts, that's going to kick in.
Exactly.
So thoughts about burying something would not be in there.
Nope. And that's exactly right. He knew they were after him, and he could hear the gunshots. And like they said, they fired on that place all night long. In fact, you saw that even now, the walls are still peppered with bullet holes. They kept it almost like a museum that way. But the key thing is, no one in their right mind would stop to bury something when they're being shot at. And technically, they were being shot at. They didn't know that they weren't in the house, but that's beside the point. The point is, they were shooting. And, it amazes me how they actually believe this story. And one reason why this myth kind of endures, I think, is because when he was killed 3 months later in an alleyway, all they found on him was $7.87. The rest of the money's never been found. There is a plausible theory that he might have buried it on his family's farm, and that's possible, but because obviously he wasn't being shot at his family's farm, so that makes sense. But if there's another possibility, assuming he had the suitcase with him at that time, he could have run with it, and I'm sure he wasn't the only one who ran out the window. They just showed him just for our benefit. But most likely there was probably a few more, and most likely what would have happened was they probably would have gotten, I don't know, so far out in the woods, and they probably said, here, take some money, and we'll just get, That's plausible. But it's a lot more plausible than, hey, let's bury a suitcase while we're being shot at. as far as I know, this is the first, last, and only search attempt. So I think a lot of people were watching this special and thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. You know, so. And there you go, folks. That's some of the biggest myths that I've come across, or screw-ups, if you want to call them that. Yeah, and the Mythbusters, they had some good ones, so touche to that one. But I'll give them some points for the catching of the arrow, but not much. Only because, again, wrong bow, wrong arrow. The decompression thing, again, no one in their right mind would take a plane up and actually test this. Because assuming it does work, and even if it doesn't work, something could go wrong. Like it could shoot the engine or something. Theoretically. So, yeah, it makes sense. Well, anyway, I hope everybody found this a little interesting.
So far, yeah.
Yep. Well, I hate to say this, folks. That's the last of that chapter, I'm afraid, because that's really all I got.
Well, what about the other one?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for reminding me. You're so right. Thank you. Well, anyway, okay. One more, folks. We do got one more. And that would be the story about the Ark of the Covenant. Now, before anybody out there starts saying that starts thinking I'm going to say it's a myth, no. I'm talking about a story. The story is that Ethiopia claims that they have it in a certain church. And the story, and they claim, and again, I don't know the full spectrum here because, you know, I read some of this and I end up rolling my eyes back like the Undertaker does when he gets ready to wrestle. So, anywho, the story goes that it's in a church in Ethiopia. And only one certain priest can look at it. Nobody else can, or something bad will happen to them. He's the only one who can see it, and he rarely comes out. He lives in that church. No one is allowed in, no one at all, just him. And he's the only one who can see it. And he's never really described much about it at all, just saying that it's spectacular. Anyway, like I said, the story is that Ethiopia has it. And, well, I can give a few good reasons why that's clearly a total crock. Let's see. One, even though it's been said that King Solomon, right, Bonnie? Was it King Solomon or
Antony?
Antony?
You okay?
Yeah, it's already 3:23 a.m.
Oh, late over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, it's been really nice being on here. And it was really interesting meeting up with you, Bonnie.
It was great to meet you.
Lovely.
Yeah, if it's getting late for you, Tony, I understand.
Anyway, I'm gonna turn in for a while, you know?
Understood.
That's fair.
Okay.
Well, who knows? Maybe next time we could do a Power Rangers video.
Yeah, definitely.
And thanks for being part of this.
Definitely. Always a pleasure. And don't forget to subscribe to Bonnie's channel and Movie Fans channels.
Yep.
They got a lot of nice stuff, especially Movie Fan.
Oh, thanks, Tony. Well, I'll let you go there. So.
Good night.
Night.
Night. Yeah, I'll just there we go. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. I mean, he's in Europe, so enough said there. It's it'd be that time over there. But anyway, it was King Solomon, if I remember correctly, who was acquainted with someone for like a queen of Ethiopia or something. So the story goes.
Queen of Sheba, actually.
Queen of Sheba, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. And that's one of the things that endures this. So that's what makes them claim that they have it. Like allegedly, he gave it to them. Maybe when the burning of the temple or something. I don't know. I'm sorry. My knowledge of the Bible is pretty bad. So
it's okay. At least you know the names. That's one good thing. But the temple was not destroyed during Solomon's time, but rather during but hundreds of years later, during the reign of Zedekiah. he was the last king of Judea for a very long time before before Judea went into exile. But yeah, I have a few theories on why Ethiopia is involved. For one, that is the church where trying to remember which disciple it was. I think Philip. Basically one of the disciples was sent to Samaria to preach there, and on. I mean, and he let's. Sorry, I'm gonna have to look it up. Man from Ethiopia in the Bible.
While you're doing that,
yes, Philip. Okay, so Philip the evangelist, who was also one of the who was among the apostles. He preached to a man who was coming from Ethiopia and who was trying to study Isaiah. And it was because of him that this eunuch from Ethiopia started the first church in Ethiopia. And well, I mean, it is. I mean, but that was after Christ, and the disappearance of the ark was before Christ.
Yeah.
When Judea was exiled, destroyed, and the temple and the artifacts would have been taken out by the Babylonians. I don't know what they would have done with these items. I mean, we know what happened to the goblets from the gold, silver goblets that were in the temple that were dedicated to the Lord. Where one of the kings in Babylon, Belshazzar, abused them. But we don't know what happened to the gold lampstand or the Ark of the Covenant. But most definitely it would not be in Ethiopia because, one, Ethiopia is not near Babylon in any way. I mean, it is possible that they could have lost it on the way, but even then, I don't know. It'd be a giant gold box, basically. Like, you cannot miss it.
Nope. That's for sure. And I'll admit the Queen of Sheba thing, I think is why they really kind of stick with this. That's one reason. But at the same time, I'm sorry.
Also, Solomon would never have been allowed to give the Ark of the Covenant to her. Like, God would have smote him for that. Because there were strong, strict rules about carrying the Ark of the Covenant. And before Solomon was born, there was actually an incident during the reign of his father David, where the Ark of the Covenant was being brought on a cart, and when the cart collapsed, the Ark of the Covenant nearly fell, and somebody touched it. Like, not touch the poles, but put his hands on the ark itself. And that was a death sentence.
Yep.
Touching anything of God's was a death sentence. So, so giving the Ark of the Covenant to so if touching it was a death sentence, what do you think giving the Ark of the Covenant to the Queen of Sheba would have been?
I imagine it'd be worse. But yeah, and that's one big thing. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you believe in a lot of the stuff's like alleged affair and all that, but no, there's no way he would have given that away. It is too important to the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. That's like literally giving away the Bible or the Torah or the Declaration of Independence. That's like giving that away. You can't do it. It's out of the question. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's one reason why this can't be. And on top of that, the excuse they're claiming is only this priest can look upon it or you will die, like in Indiana Jones. No.
There's one thing I can offer on that.
Hmm.
But this is only slim. And this is also from the Bible. Let's see. So the rules about the ark, which is basically in the temple or the tabernacle, whichever came first. Well, the tabernacle came first, the temple came later, but basically they both had a veil that separated the presence of God and the Ark of the Covenant away from everybody else. And only once a year could the high priest actually go into the presence of God. But that was basically to trying to remember what the word was. Redeem Israel and the children of Israel. It was the day of cleansing, the day of atonement, or as we now call it, a Yom Kippur. It was the feast of well, not really feast, but it was the day of atonement, and only that day could the high priest ever go behind the veil in the presence of God, and where the ark was. He still couldn't touch it. I mean, nobody was allowed to touch it. They could touch the poles, or the priest assigned for transporting the ark could touch the poles, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Touching the box itself would have been a death sentence.
Yep.
And what's it called? So yeah, that explanation is biblically and not biblically accurate on the part of Ethiopia. Yes, once a year the high priest could go there for the Day of Atonement and go before God to atone for all the sins of Israel. But otherwise, what's Ethiopia's real excuse with that?
Well, the only thing I keep hearing is that only he can look upon it, that's all, and no one else, which I don't buy. So, and furthermore, there is one major, and I do mean major, thing that definitely says that they don't really have it, that they're lying. And that's this. Fact. 1, it belongs to the Jewish people. And I haven't seen them even try to investigate whether or not they have it. I would think that if they believed this, they would certainly investigate. And 2, they would demand to get it back because it's rightfully theirs.
Absolutely.
And let's see, have they tried to investigate it?
No.
Have they demanded that they return it to them? No. Have they tried to break in to get it back? I'm not saying they would, but I wouldn't blame anyone who tried. Again, no.
Somebody zealous could, but yeah, no.
And this place is not guarded with huge armed guards either.
Yeah.
It's not guarded by guys with machine guns. It really isn't. So,
And by the way, if anybody's wondering what really is in the box, or what really would have been in the box, 2 things. The 10 Commandments were in there, and Aaron's staff, which but I blossomed into almond bloom.
Yep.
Those things were put in the ark. Though what they did in Indiana Jones was awesome.
Totally. But then again, the point of that was they opened it. They touched it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
The difference here is Ethiopia is claiming that if you look at it, that's what's going to happen to you. And that's not true. And supposedly they're working on a new temple right now, and they're going to move it there when it's finished. And some people are thinking, oh, maybe we're finally going to see it. Like they're going to walk in front of it. Yeah, right. No, they're not. They're going to keep the illusion going by deliberately making a hallway where you can't see it, or do it at night where nobody's looking. They're not going to show you this because they really don't have it. That's the truth. They're lying.
Even if they did, they probably just replicated it.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them. I mean, there was when I did take a trip into Israel, I saw a replicated golden lamp, 7 golden lampstand, and it was gorgeous. It was not the original one from very long ago, but it was a copy. But it gave us an idea of what it would have looked like, how tall it was, and how gorgeous it was.
Yeah, and that's a key thing with replication, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to try to claim that this is it, assuming that's what they did, of course, if they replicated, assuming they replicated it. But and either way, I don't buy it.
And what purpose do they really have in claiming, oh, we do have the definitive one? Like, what's their goal in that?
That's the part that I don't understand.
Are they trying to get money out of it, or is there a bigger goal for that?
I've never found any proof that they're getting money out of this at all. And in fact, Ethiopia is the legendary poster child for third world country poverty here. I'm not kidding. Every time there's an image of poverty and, Ethiopia is literally number 1 on that list. They are literally that face. And I don't know what they hope to gain by this. And I don't know if they're gaining anything at all. To the best of my knowledge, other than living the lie, they're not gaining anything. So I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
At least, I mean, I could give them credit for not getting money out of it, assuming that's happening, because I haven't found any proof of that. They're not getting any funding that I'm aware of, so I don't know. But again, I don't really know for sure, but as far as I could tell. But either way, I don't know what they're gaining out of this, because nobody goes to Ethiopia to try to really look. Nobody really does, and that's the truth, except for a few scholars, of course, on the hope that maybe the priest will come out and they could talk to him. But yeah, that's a stretch and a half, because he rarely comes out. Rarely. So either way.
And the fact that he rarely comes out does make me think, scam.
Yeah.
Because I've heard of stories like that before.
Yep. Me too.
Where people claim to be holier than thou, and that was their way of coming out once, just to keep everything a mystery and alive.
That's it.
And yeah, I don't buy it.
I know I don't. And like I said before, if the Jewish people really believed that they had it, they would have investigated and demanded that they get it back, because it's theirs.
Absolutely.
And they have not. So obviously they don't buy it.
And there were consequences when there were consequences for stealing the Ark of the Covenant when the Philistines did it. They stole it and put it next to their god, Dagon, and more than once they would come back to find that Dagon had fallen down and was broken, and when they tried to put him back up, he still fell down, and then they got plagued with disease. So there were grave consequences for stealing it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well,
I've gone on.
Yeah, that's okay. And thanks for reminding me about this one, Bonnie. I almost completely forgot it. I got so wrapped up in other things. Well, folks, that's literally all of it right now. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody got a little interested in some of the stuff that came up. And I certainly hope everyone took the time to think, with the Mythbusters, did they screw up on a few notes? Which I do believe on a few that we covered, they did. Because, well, you saw. I'm not going to repeat it. So, and again, would you bury a suitcase if you were being shot at? No. And again, if something that precious is someplace and it belongs to someone else, don't you think the person would be demanding to get it back? And they're not. Think about that. So, and plus it literally contradicts the Bible. The Bible does not say you can't look at it or you'll die.
says you
Does
can't
it?
touch it.
That's it. Big difference. So yeah, that's a bunch of crap. And again, you know, making up weapons that do not exist, or to the best of my knowledge, never existed, and tactics that never really happened. No, sorry. Bad History Channel. Bad History Channel on that one. And that was when they were still doing good too, before they started becoming all about the Pawn Stars. So anyway, yeah. Well, anyway, I'm glad that we got covered this. Hopefully I can cover... so I'm going to plan to do some more live streams in the future. Hopefully something real good. In fact, I got maybe a nice one coming up with someone I think you'll all remember. But until that day, you'll find out. But at the moment, I want to thank Bonnie from Joy Unicycle for helping me out on this one. And I definitely... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I definitely want to thank my good friend and bro, Antony, for chiming in with us. So, but anyway, once again, thank you, Bonnie, for coming along with this.
Thank you for inviting me. This
Definitely.
has been fun.
Great. I'm glad. Because, you know, I still got some more plans coming up. And who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll do another impressions video. And I know a few people who we could probably get in on this. So hopefully. But until that day, everybody, this is Movie Fan signing off.